Yeah.
That's fantastic. I just wanted to ask you guys, I mean, what did you, and what do you guys think of this concept of the third way, especially, I don't know, you know, on Long Island right now, there's still 50,000 people or more without power. And of course, this, I think, speaks to the idea that we need to totally revamp our grid, and that includes burying power lines and lots of other things. But I'm also wondering if it doesn't suggest that we ought to decentralize power, so that, you know, more people are basically becoming their own power generators, and we're essentially building our own grid. I mean, I'm just wondering if anyone here has done that. Has anyone got solar panels on their roof, or maybe a little cute vertical axis wind turbine? No? Okay. Well, I just want to tell you that there is we are starting something that I think you guys will be interested in too. This Electron project thing you saw at the end. It's a website we're developing which will tell you in sort of excruciating, painful detail exactly where your energy comes from right now. So if you lived in eastern Massachusetts, you'd learn that, you know, most of your coal comes from 2 coal mines in Colombia, where paramilitary forces are used to kind of cleanse the local population and get them away from the coal mines. So that would be one little fact you would learn. And then, so once you'd sort of, you know, absorbed all that loveliness, then you would say, okay, well, how do I change my power? And we'd give you sort of local resources, ways that you can, whether it's buying into a co-op or a green, I think there's is there an organization here? Okay, so where you can sort of purchase your power in a green way, or learn about stuff that's going on here, or buy your own. As I say, there's, if you look at a website called Urban Green Energy, there are these vertical axis turbines, which, you know, with one of those and a solar panel, I happen to have an 8th grade math teacher out on Long Island who's got just solar panels, and he's getting 110% of his energy. He's getting checks back from the grid. So, I mean, and he's not a very wealthy man. So I just, for me, it's like, isn't this sort of really, I mean, obviously we're going to need the big projects, and what you guys are doing to survey all this is, I think, really crucial. And the question to me is just going to be, who owns it? You know, okay, we want private developers, sure, but are there ways in which the state can get involved, municipalities can get involved in this, like this co-op model that we saw in the vineyard? And are there ways that individuals can kind of, you know, have their own little power plants on their houses?
Just another project that University of Rhode Island is involved in. We were asked by the Office of Energy Resources here in Rhode Island to put together, we call it the Rhode Island Renewable Energy Siting Partnership. And the idea was to provide tools and techniques for municipalities to make better decisions about solar, hydro, and land-based wind. It wasn't the university's job to determine where it should be, but to provide tools. And actually, we have a website called RhodeIslandEnergy.org, which provides a lot of the information. It also provides tools for municipalities to, if they want to promote or to look into this, it has a lot of the understanding of what are the effects of flicker and acoustics and whatnot. And also, if you want to put a specific wind turbine someplace, you can then, you know, do the Google Earth thing and identify it. And it's actually been recognized as we're one of the only states that has a tool such as that. So
we would link to you guys.
You should link to us.
Okay.
We're way ahead of you.
Yeah, okay, fantastic.
But you guys must have more questions about something.
Yeah, maybe we have time for 2 or 3 or something.
It seems like decentralization is sort of the way to go, ultimately. What programs are there out there for normal folks to try to get off the grid? Are loan programs? I understand that in Germany, government or some entity lends population money on very long-term loans to construct hot water, solar hot water heaters.
Right.
What would we do? What could we possibly
I'll give you a short answer to that, and maybe we can get another answer from these guys. The question is, you know, what programs and incentives are available so that normal people can get off the grid? And you're right. In Germany, from my understanding, they're getting 20% of their energy. They're way ahead of us from renewables, and 50% of that 20% is third way, i.e., it's farmers, it's small businesses, etc. So I think there are, in fact, all kinds of rebates on the state and at the federal level. Some of them are expiring pretty shortly, But on the federal, that federal tax rebate is expiring pretty shortly. But that would be part of what our website would do, and maybe yours does too. It would tell you exactly what rebates are available, and there are some. And as I say, I think that, it can be done. I know waitresses who've done it in Provincetown. I mean, somehow they do it. They make it happen. Do you know any more about where they can get money to do it?
I would say contact the Office of Energy Resources here in Rhode Island. I do know that the state is in the process of creating an energy plan based on a lot of the information that we collected, but to look at it comprehensively. I do know there are some programs which Office of Energy Resources is offering, and they want to make it more available and accessible to citizens.
Okay.
Any other questions?
One more.
I'm just wondering, when you guys started out, before you started shooting the film, did you envision that the film would end up in going in a different direction than it did? Or after filming, is that when it became a comedy? How did
Do you want to answer? Okay. Yeah. Well, I read the book Cape Wind, which was by the editor of Providence Journal, right? Which is a very funny book, and but it's pretty harsh on the rich people. It just goes all out. And as we got involved, we started being able to see it from both sides. This is going to be a big thing, and I think it'll look nicer if it was closer, because when it's just sort of out there, it's like, what is it? It's like a bunch of sticks with lights. So in any case, so we tried to really appreciate it from both points of view, and we tried to appreciate the absurdity, as you heard in the song, of the human condition, right? I mean, so that sort of developing, and I have to say the third way came out of being in the edit room with this for years and saying to ourselves, okay, what is the most legitimate, in my view anyway, what's the most legitimate gripe that the opposition has? They may have others, but what's the most legitimate one? I would say it's about ownership. Why is this resource going to be privately developed? Well, okay, that's the American way. Well, not entirely. We've got state banks in North Dakota. We've got, the Tennessee Valley Authority. Well, that has issues. But the point is that there are ways of doing this. There's the whole cooperative, let's raise a barn together aspect of this. So that was very intriguing to me, and private-public partnerships. So the comedy is just there. The pirates were there. Everything else. It was just all, the craziness was there. You want one more question, and then we should maybe let everyone go home. What happened in New York?
Oh, at Lincoln Center, yes. We had a sold-out crowd in Lincoln Center.
Yeah, I was there.
We oversold it in Lincoln Center, so about 120 in a 90-seat theater, and it was wonderful, and people loved it and laughed in all the right places, as you guys did tonight, and we ask you guys, if you love the film, go on IMDb and tell people you loved it, and tweet it and Facebook and do all those kinds of things, because we want to keep showing it around the country to groups like you guys, and
Petition your local theater.
Yes, and petition your local theater here, Jane Pickens, to bring us back in schools. The educational version is now available, so if your kids are in school or college or whatever, an organization, we just got to keep getting. We can use the money. There's a big debt on this film. And in Massachusetts, people know the story, and you guys know some of the story. But as you go to New York and other places, people aren't so familiar with it, and I think it's a story that needs to get told, because it's not only a story about renewable energy, but it's also a story about how things get done or don't get done in America today. And I think that's equally as important.
Yeah. Right.
The other meaning to my question was, how did the New Yorkers react to the whole thing? And was there a Q&A after?
Yes.
Yeah.
What?
I think that if
They all vacation here, so they knew all about it. No, it's just it's the same as you guys. It's amazing. Like the Dutch, for instance. I'm thinking about our Amsterdam screen. They really laughed at the Indians. They just thought it was totally ridiculous. And other people don't think it's as ridiculous. Indians have gotten pushed around quite a bit. So. But then again, it's that whole Jeffrey Madison thing. So you got, a lot of people don't know what to think. They go back and forth. I'm sure like some of you did. You go back and forth as you're going through, as we all did in the editing room. So I'd say a typical New Yorker's reaction, as strange as they normally are, was about the same as yours.
And in the back there, you had a question?
Yeah.
I was in business here. I make beer for it. And there's a lot of energy in beer, and we have a giant roof that we can put solar panels on.
Right on.
But having said that, if it's not windy, of which sometimes all the architect orders are all annoyed at, what needs to be done as far as infrastructure? You have to have oil reserves on, you have to, like, how does power get created on a cloudy, non-windy day?
Well, what's the state of battery storage and battery backup? What's going on with that?
Could you repeat that?
Oh,
Part of that question.
the long and short of it is, okay, so you've got your solar panels and you've got your wind turbine, and now it's cloudy and there's no wind. What happens then?
I don't have the answer to that.
I mean, that's the it's the storage, and they're working on that, and there is, you know, there is storage that's available. It's coming online, and I don't think you.
Well, the real answer. Sorry. No. Pardon me. The answer is you stay grid tied. Okay.
Don't get me wrong, I'm all for it. I've heard that lots of times when wind turbines are spinning, a lot of times that energy actually gets dumped. Because there isn't something that can, so it's going to more fuzzy that, oh yeah.
Well, that's why you put it in, you have it going into, if you're stay grid tied and you have a little battery backup system, that's the ideal situation in my book, okay? So you set that going and it feeds back into the grid so it doesn't get dumped. Because you're getting a check when you're over, you produce it. Right. Yeah. Oh, out there in the world. I mean, there's always a place for it to go, right?
Yeah, there's the only ones that have really started to get sort of a handle on some of the storage issues with wind are the Norwegians. Norwegians are actually using the excess energy to pump water up to a reservoir, and they're using that hydrostatic head then to generate electricity after. So that's one way of doing it, but the other issue is that here in the U.S., what's happening in Europe right now is they're developing an entirely new marine grid to handle the power generation by putting a spline along the Atlantic East Coast. And what they said there is that actually the statistic is 28 coastal states use about almost 80% of the electricity. So the load centers, meaning the usage and the wind capacity, is here, both matching up. By putting a marine spline along the Atlantic coast, when wind's blowing up in Maine, that could be distributed down to Georgia and vice versa. So there's opportunities there to even out the distribution network if we start to think more regional in the development of this and look at those types of opportunities. And it also bypasses some of the problems that we have with our grid. Here in New England, we have one of the oldest antiquated grid systems in the U.S., and we're very, very susceptible to power outages and whatnot. So
in the meantime, put up your own windmill, and I'll get you 10% off a nice vertical access one. I'm not kidding. Talk to me after.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should go out now, guys, but we'll be out there. Thank you so much for coming.